All right, Paul. Thanks for taking the time to sit with me. I mean, we know each other for the last couple of years, and you're a well-known person in Munich. But maybe you can tell us, who is Paul Daly?
I guess you could say maybe I'm somebody who got lucky, and as far as being in the right place at the right time with the right idea. And if it was clever, it might have been in surrounding myself with the right people, because a lot of what I've done over the years comes down to managing people and having the right people in place. And as I say, I was here when I arrived here to Germany. I saw the opening for Irish pubs. It was at that time, I'm that old, early 1980s. There really was opportunities, and I hadn't got much experience in the pubs. So what I did was, as I say, I got people around me who knew the business more than I did, and put my strengths to the best effect I could, which was get up on the stage and played some music and learn the trade as I went along. And it's developed, and I hope over the years I've developed, made lots and lots of mistakes, and hopefully learned, and I believe I did learn from them, because otherwise we probably wouldn't be here today. But it's been a learning process, and that's what my business has always been, learning, and it's developed to a degree when that we're now very, very happy with the situation we're in.
Well, we're sitting here today in Killians, which is, one of the best pubs in Munich today. And when I first came here in 1992, the Shamrock was considered like the gold standard of Irish pubs.
Yeah.
So maybe you can you seem to be involved in a lot of different pubs. Like, how did all this happen?
Yeah, it's been a progression. The first Irish pub, I admit it here on camera probably for the first time, I didn't have any Guinness in it, right? But I was so desperate to get into the business, and I knew that the concept would work. And I had the idea that I would convince the brewery afterwards that I'd get the pub up and running, and it was successful from the first day. We had live music, we had the Irish whiskies, we had whatever. They had the atmosphere, and that was the important thing. But then they didn't let me have Guinness, so I moved on to the next one. This is all in Regensburg back in the middle of the 80s. This year I'll be 30 years in the business, the end of this year. And then I went to, and that pub, then it had Guinness, so that was the step up. It had a couple of seats outside. Then we went to the Shamrock. And at the time I went to the Shamrock, I started in the Shamrock, there were lots of expats around. There was your guys over on the building work, and there was contractors in the computer companies. Here's Nicky with a couple of pints. Good girl, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
And thanks, Nicky. Anyway, so we started in the Shamrock, and I really, even from the beginning, I wanted to come to Munich, because that's where the Irish people were, and there was a huge Irish community. You're probably aware, I think you came to in the 90s yourself, yeah. And at that stage, the early 90s anyway, there was still a huge Irish community before Ireland's big boom, and then that all changed, and we had to adapt, because we saw that the Irish clientele who were prepared to come in the summer and whatever, and we'd go down into a cellar and be happy, and they'd come in during the day in the summer and sit in a dark pub, and there was all no problem, and business was great. But they were start leaving, and then we found, well, we definitely had to cater for Munich people now, and they wanted to sit outside. So we tried the seating outside the Shamrock, etc. And then I realised we had to come into town, and we had to come into the centre, and we had to get outside seating. But we still wanted to entertain people, and we still wanted to have the pub where you could go downstairs and have live music, have sports on, and people could enjoy themselves. So in the end, we found a place with a cellar where we weren't going to disturb the neighbours, and we could have a nice, lively pub and still have seating outside. And then we also realised that German people wanted to eat when they came to a pub, which the Irish guys were happy with a breakfast. All of a sudden, we were in a completely different business. We were in a business, almost restaurant at that stage. And then another change came, and the smoking ban came in. And all of a sudden, the 70% of people who'd never come into a pub before, because they just didn't like smoke, we were appealing now to, instead of the 30% before who were smokers in Munich, we're appealing to 100% of people who, when they came in, they wanted to eat. So that was the idea of the bar restaurant was born, and then we went to Kennedy's. and that's how we progressed. And the outside seating became so important. Food became so important. Entertainment was always part of what we did, and that's why the concept worked. And so it's been a learning process, been a progression the whole way through, and that's why I've sold off pubs that where maybe they didn't have the optimal situation. They didn't have the outside seating. They didn't have the kitchen, and now we're in a position where we've got two really large bars would sell lots of food, and they're working very well for us.
But I mean, it's a huge credit to you, because Kennedy's, before you took it over, it was one of the oldest, dodgiest bars in the city.
Yeah.
I think you've made it probably one of the premier restaurant gastro pubs in the country.
Well, it was always part of the progression. We wanted to step up again from Killians. We had a pub with Killians, as you say, one of the most successful bars in Munich. But where do you go from there? So it was always going to be about what the place looked like, and that's why we went and got advice, and took an Irish architect, and we went and got advice in Ireland, and we wanted to do it a little bit different. If you like, a little bit more upmarket. The food was going to be a bit different and all that, because it's the progression once again. Kennedy's is a progression from Killians, and the last thing we want to do is take our clientele away from Killians and put them into Kennedy's. So we achieved that, and it was one of the most satisfying things of the success of Kennedy's is it has not affected the success of Killians in any way. Killians is more successful today than it was when we started Kennedy's, which is a fantastic, which is my pride. The pride, I take pride in that more than anything else.
Very good.
But again, it was we surrounded ourselves, myself and Paul Fleming, with people who are very good, management people, but also, they took on people in service and whatever who do the exact job we wanted to do. So teamwork has been a huge part of our success.
I mean, I know your staff here speak multiple languages and come from all over the world, but how do you feel yourself? You've been here 30 years, that's more than half your life.
Yeah.
Are you German, Irish? Where are you from?
I'm very lucky in that I've always been involved in Irish music. I've always been involved with Irish pubs as long as I've been here. So I've never lost the contact. We've had Irish sports on the TV and all that. But we're also, I mean, if you ask me, we're very lucky to live in a fantastic city in Munich, which embraces people like us and gives us the opportunities to be in business. So I find I have a huge affiliation from Munich, but I still feel much more Irish than they. You do get people coming over and saying, "Hey, you're here 30 years, you must be German," but it's not true. I mean, I understand German. My wife is German, and and I have a great affiliation for Germany and for Munich and for German people. But in the end, I'm Irish, and you can't get rid of that. And I say it's a bit of a different position for me because I've so much of Ireland going on in the pubs all the time, so I never lose it, and I get home to Ireland very often. So.
Yeah. And I know you go back to Wexford occasionally, but your children, are they Irish? Are they German? Where are they?
No, you see, a lot of people have left the country thinking, "Oh, I've got to bring my people up, my kids up in Ireland." I never had a problem with that. My kids grew up in a German environment. They, I went to school in German. My wife spoke German to them all the time, and yet I was always amazed, and I spoke English to them all the time, and I was always amazed when we had visitors from Ireland. All of a sudden they would speak German back to me, but as soon as we had visitors from Ireland, all of a sudden they could speak English. That was with a German accent, right? But one of the great things has been for my sons is that while they've been studying, they're working here in the pubs, and now they realise why I was always speaking English to them, and now they have the great advantage of being bilingual, So that's a fantastic thing. So they have, they're more rooted in Germany, but they're very happy to say I'm Irish as well.
That's
good. My daughter, who doesn't work in the pubs, but she's always embraced speaking English to me and speaking German to my wife, so she feels very Irish too. So we're there on a regular basis, and we get regular visitors and they're in the pubs, so they have a big connection to Ireland as well. And you probably asked me about the St. Patrick's Day parade one time, but it's one of the main motivations I had was to bring a bit of Ireland to them in Munich, as well.
Maybe you can tell us about the Patrick's Day parade, because I know it's one of the biggest, if not the biggest, in continental Europe.
Yeah, well, exactly like I say, we were living away here. When the kids were small, they were very much in the German environment. And I felt when, a couple of us are in the pub, of course, got the notion that we try and organise a St. Patrick's Day parade. And one of my main motivations is that I wanted to bring a little bit of Ireland. You can't bring kids into the pub all the time. So one of the motivations was we give them a day out, as a family day out, and have it like in other towns all over the world. Go down the main street in Munich, and that'll be an Irish day where families can get involved as well. And there's so many families like my own, where one partner is German and the other is Irish, and their children are a mixture of Irish and German. And for them, it was really for them, and to bring a piece of Ireland to Munich as well. That was the main motivation at the time.
It's been an amazing achievement. I remember over 20 years ago, I think it was, being at the very first event and having a couple of hundred people there. And now it's 25, 30,000 people coming.
Fantastic. Yeah. Well, I mean, it's been a progression as well, but the fact is that in this, at the same time, the numbers of Irish people in Munich have got less. But what it's turned out to be is a fantastic connection between Munich people and Ireland. And, of course, nearly all Irish people we know in Munich, and even from further afield, come to Munich for the parade. But they still only make up about 1,500 people of the 20 to 25,000. The rest of the people, the reason it's got bigger and more successful, is because Munich people and German people have embraced it so much, and they just enjoy what we're offering, which is a bit of fun, a bit of entertainment, and a piece of Ireland. And Ireland has a great reputation in Munich. So it's been a steady progression. One of the main things that always pleases me is that we've never had any problems. Doesn't matter how many Guinness are drank on the day, we've never had an issue with the police. Police are always very happy with the way it's run. And it's run properly, maybe in a very German way, but it's well organised. And the great thing is is the teamwork and all of the different organisations getting involved and contributing to the whole thing, including the security of the whole event. Sure. That I find it's an important part of it, and because of that, and that's huge. That people can go out and have a family day out and enjoy themselves, and it's great entertainment. Gives huge opportunity to, one of the most enjoyable things for me is when the small children get out and dance, and they're living Irish culture here in Munich, and we give them the opportunity in March to get up on stage, and they practice for months for this, and they get up on the stage. And, they get out there in front of thousands of people. I mean, that's a huge moment for all of these children. And it's a real connection between what they do in their daily lives, which is be living in this German environment, and they get this connection to Ireland. And it's great for the people who participate, great for the audience as well.
Well, there's the parade we talked about, and you talked about how yourself, you sang in the original pubs, and you still sing occasionally in the pubs.
Yeah.
But I know you've been heavily involved in the Deutsche Irish Freundschaftskreis. Maybe you could tell us a little about that?
Yeah, again, I've always been interested in Irish music and culture in general, and just to refer back to the dancing, which is a conversation yesterday where the original dance school here started in the Shamrock Irish Pub back in the early days, and moved on to Shenanigans before they went to the. So I've been encouraging Irish culture and dancing for a long time. So then I did get involved with the Deutsche Irish Freundschaftskreis, who was the main organisation organising the parade. And then we saw how all those little kids were freezing on a Sunday in March. And then we said, well, Green Farm, would be a great idea where we can present Irish music and dance and literature, etc. And we went from there, and then we went on to bring it into the city with the Stadtgründungsfest and the Irish Parish Festival, where we compared and contrasted the Irish and Bavarian cultures. So DIF has been heavily involved in all those, and we do a lot of intern club things where we go and visit Celtic sites here, or we organise little evenings in the Irish Folk Club here with Frank and Alison and things like that. And it's great that I have this connection and I enjoy doing it. It's what I like to do.
Yeah, I mean it's hard to compromise 30 years of a life into 10 minutes. But what recommendations would you give, given your background, someone moving to Germany, either to start a business, a company, or just to live here?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's going to make it an awful lot easier if you have the language. You got to persevere with the bureaucracy that you're going to meet, which might be a little bit more than you're used to in Ireland. And if you have that idea, go for it. Look for that niche and then take the risks. And that's the biggest part of what I probably did, is take the risks, and then it's just hard work after that. If you put your effort in, then the chances are you can make it here, because Munich and Germany in general are wide open for people trying to start up and get into business. The language is important, but self-motivation and also having the right idea are a huge part of being successful anywhere, but particularly also in Munich and Germany.
Paul, I'd like to thank you personally and on behalf of many people in the Irish community for offering us some great places to come, opportunities to meet people, and also for taking the time to have this conversation.
Well, thank you very much.
And maybe cheers.
Yeah, sláinte.